Time out, time out. Come on. Let's go. Y'all ready for this? Okay. Let's do this. What's happening, everybody? We are back at it again with another very interesting guest. Listen, everybody loves chocolates, right? But if you don't like chocolates, then we have an issue and we need to talk, guys. Today, my guest is on a mission to spread sweetness in people's lives. Sounds delicious, right? But he's trying to spread sweetness in a very different way, in a guilt-free way. A 24-year-old entrepreneur from Mumbai who started his venture, a diabetic chef. It all started as a 14-year-old kid, if I'm not wrong, who used to love desserts but was diagnosed with diabetes. Am I correct?
14 is when I was diagnosed, correct. I started a diabetic chef a little later, around 16,
Okay.
17, 16. My math is damn bad. Wait, 8 years back. 18, no,
Perfect.
17.
See, two very bad people at mathematics are going to give you business sense today and knowledge, and we're going to give you that value and ideas that you kind of need, right? See, here's the thing. This guy, Harsh Kedia, went out and created a brand that is made out of, guilt-free sweetness. You don't need sugar for chocolates. You know why did he create that? Because he liked chocolates himself. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
So he liked chocolates and he went out and created a brand which he could enjoy and also give out to the people so they could enjoy as well. So, point number one, if there is something that you like, you can't do it. And if it doesn't exist in the market, go out and do that. We got Harsh Kedia with us today, everybody. His dream is to have a chocolate factory bigger than Willy Wonka's, but a guilt-free one. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Is that right? Yeah. Thanks a lot, buddy, for coming in today. And I'm glad we could do this. I mean, it's been a long time coming. It's that festive season out here in India. And guys, you got like 2 TEDx speakers right now on the mic at the same podcast. No, come on, this is Time Out. And we bring you something always. So Harsh, apart from being a chocolatier, what else? Like a teacher, where does that come from? Like a chocolatier and a teacher. What do you teach, dude?
So I take courses on branding, marketing and business as a visiting faculty at B schools. Mm-hmm. So I've gone and given lectures at Jamnalal Bajaj, ISB Hyderabad and a bunch of other undergrad schools in Bombay. And it sort of comes from a place where a lot of institutional directors and students want me to come down and share my journey, talk about what struggle really is and what it really means in the real world, in and around business, the startup ecosystem.
Right.
And a diabetic chef started once in 2013 and again in 2018, then in 2020.
Right.
So it has been like a 3-time fall down, get up for me.
Why did that kind of happen though, man? In this entire play of 8 years, you had like a 3-time stop and go.
Yeah.
Periods.
So
and what still made you keep going though?
I can recollect for the longest time that there was just one thing that I always wanted to be associated with. That was food. And even like post-diagnosis with diabetes, which is a good 10 years back.
Right.
I realized that your passion cannot be stopped because of hindrances.
Right.
That might be external or internal. And in our cases, internal in terms of our emotional well-being, mental well-being and physical health.
Sure.
So my passion was furthered and sort of given more purpose, falling sick at the age of 14. What I realized was that I'm not going to stop eating. It's never going to end. And that negative connotation with food,
right,
and with a health disorder, lifestyle disorder, is something that's not going to stop. And that should also not stop my love for food. So essentially, after meeting so many doctors and nutritionists and stuff, the 2 don'ts were very long. So what I realized was I'll gather things that I love to eat and match up the 2 don'ts and create something that I can eat.
Right.
What I realized was that there's actually so many options that are available in terms of substitutes.
Correct.
And we come from a very ill-informed ecosystem, a chamber where there is so much negativity
Guys,
brewing.
like you know, right? Sugar wasn't even supposed to be consumed. I mean, it used to be honey
Yeah.
and other jaggery
Yeah.
and other forms,
Yeah.
and sugar was just found to be a substitute because these things were running out.
Yeah.
And then is when people started actually making sugar. Sugar wasn't supposed to be like
Yeah.
consumed, and hence it does cause a lot of effect. I mean, guys, do some history lessons. You know, like sugar is not really that old, even as a consumption story, right?
I didn't know that.
But here's the thing. Now, okay, age-old debate, right? Is white chocolate chocolate or no? I mean, here's the thing. I like white chocolate, and a lot of people are like, dude, you don't even like chocolate. It's white chocolate.
The thing is that as a business owner, I absolutely contest the idea of white chocolate being a chocolate because it is sold as a chocolate
Yeah. Okay.
under the chocolate category with
Sure.
other chocolates.
But what about your preference and style of taste and everything? Do you lean towards? I mean, yeah. Now we're actually gonna get the facts out there. Do you like white chocolate or you don't like white chocolate? And you make white chocolate, so you better say the truth.
I'm
And
white
think of the
chocolate
truth.
curious. It's a preference. Like
White chocolate curious. So here's the thing, guys. If you think white chocolate is not chocolate, instant coffee is not coffee. That's and I
a
rest my
food
case.
item is a food item, and categorically speaking, the percentage of cocoa sort of decides the shade or the category of the chocolate. So a dark chocolate essentially starts off at a 45, 55, 70, 80, 99.
Right.
Similarly, there are milk chocolates which are 33%. But that's also a composition that is mixed of cocoa mass, cocoa butter,
Right.
and cocoa solids.
Where do you
in
where do you see the Indian demographic leaning more towards though?
The Indian demographic has been driven by inexpensive chocolates since people are kids, like since Indians were very
I'm
young.
gonna get to a very good question that surrounds that
And
in some time.
the chocolate that Indians consume are not really chocolates. It's
Sure.
palm oil and sugar
Okay.
with a hint of cocoa,
Okay.
which is why
So
it
it's
was sold
chocolate
at.
flavored chocolate?
It's chocolate flavored oils.
Chocolate flavored oils. So guys, are you really consuming chocolate or are you just consuming oils and sugars? I mean, just how it is, right? So tell me one thing, do your students call you Willy Kedia? Or Harsh Wonka or any of these type of things? Do you get
I've
these names?
heard better names. for
Willy Kedia. I mean,
myself.
like it sounds weird. I mean, yeah. But do you get these type of names or
My friends call me Silly Wonka because I had my aspect of
Okay.
taking out sugar from people's lives. So till date, and I'm not exaggerating, I've had over 700 people quit sugar with me
Wow,
who are not diabetic.
I mean, guys.
I help people quit sugar and I
Minus
don't ask
sugar
for
from
money.
your life, it's
Yeah.
good. It's not bad at all. See, you started when you were 16 in this venture, right?
Yeah.
Right? And I know what I was doing when I was 16. I was doing my first sales job selling pizzas at, I'm not going to name that pizzeria unless they sponsor our podcast, right? So I was selling those pizzas out there. But here's a time when you're dribbling with ideas. Did you have people to be like, man, how long did it's not really going to work out like that? How do you think you're going to sell chocolates like that in an industry that they have so many chocolates out there? And how long did it take your time to kind of set up the diabetic chef?
For as far as I remember, 7 years.
Okay.
So I'll be honest with you, as an idea, as a profession, as everything that you can sort of use synonyms with for a diabetic chef.
Was
even
there other
adjectives.
names that you associated it with? And
None. A diabetic chef as a name came to me as an insult by a school friend.
Ah.
And that's a different point we'll touch upon in some time. But I was told by people that it's A, impractical, B, densely populated as a market, C, the name diabetic is so negatively misconstrued by people that nobody will buy your chocolate. People will be like, tum bimar ko bimari bech rahe ho, of sorts. But I took it in a positive way where I thought, and I still feel that you must not label yourself in a negative way
Right.
when you're associated with a health disorder. Like, I know so many people, from our customers to our friends to our family, extended family, who are so ashamed to talk about being diabetic themselves in public, and like even younger kids, they can't tell their school teachers and friends, assuming that there's so much negative backlash that they will not be treated the same way ever,
Right.
which also causes problems. What if they fall sick?
All right,
What if
time
something
out,
really
time out,
happens?
time out, time
Yeah.
out. This is the time out section, right? All right, guys, what do I kind of take out from this is, right, he couldn't eat chocolates, so he started a guilt-free chocolate area that he could just expand in. His friends called him a diabetic chef, so he gave the name a diabetic chef to the brand in itself, and he came with a different perspective and a story. Here's the thing. Everyone's going to have a different theory, man. But you got to make your thoughts, your theories into reality and show the positivity into your brand rather than going into that negative side of things. I mean, like, what if it doesn't, and what are they saying? People are always going to talk and say whatever they don't understand in a way, right? Man, listen, if you understand something, you're going to do it the right way. If you don't understand that thing, you're going to criticize it the right way. And what these people were doing, like, he did not let a diabetes affect him from eating chocolates. He liked it, so he created his own. And then he went out and sold it to the world as a market, right? As a product. And his friends told him, the diabetic chef as a word, right? And then he said, you know what, I'm just going to use this as a buzzword for my own brand, dude. Like, thank you for the idea. I'm just going to take it and run. That's a pretty good thing. So that's something you're going to take back is people are going to talk about it. If you get an idea, run with it. You know why? Because you're awesome and you're brilliant in that entire space. Now, let me ask you something. Tell the viewers a little bit about the brand in like 3 to 4 lines. What is a diabetic chef, and what sector would you put this brand into? FMCG, nutrition, food, confectionery? What would be your entire thought in like quick 4 lines, dude? I know you can talk about it as an essay.
It's a very tricky. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I want you to find that balance.
I wrote my Harvard essay using a diabetic chef. Just that I never made it because I didn't have money. But I'll try to shorten it up. It's a confectionaries brand which is meant for everyone, because say 2 out of 5 people in India are diabetic.
Right.
4 out of 5 people in India have someone with diabetes in their house. So it's an everyone's brand. I'm trying to replace a part of your kitchen with our products, like a shelf should have all your products. Like all the things that you use will have our products. So
beautiful.
That is
So
the
the vision,
chef.
what I kind of see here is you're trying to move into everything sweet.
So everything sweet is phase 1.
Okay.
So this is the first time I'll publicly be speaking of it. Phase 1 is confectionaries, phase 2 will change. So we'll say confectionaries and health supplements. Correct. Or healthier foods.
Nutrition and
nutrition related foods.
Area. I mean, that's a beautiful scale and a story you can build onto. Guys, that's what you got to do. 70% of the time, let your guest or your prospect or your client speak, and 30% of the time you speak. Why? Because then they give you more information than you have, and then you all can have a conversation back. See, we even got to know about the next roadmap in this entire play. So, any idea how many bars or how many kgs of that good stuff have you distributed till date? How many smiles have you reached around the country, Mr. Kedia?
In the last 12 months, 70,000 chocolates.
70,000 chocolates?
Yeah.
Wow. In the last 12 months. Which city in the country consumes most of your stuff?
Bombay.
Aha. All right. And then? Top 3. Give me a top 3.
I'm a Bombay boy. Bombay has given me business. So the next 2-3 are probably like, it's a 60, 25, 15 split with whatever. So I think
Are you
it'll
looking
be
at
a
more
Bombay
metros right now for sure though?
Absolutely. That's where the purchasing power lies.
Correct.
So it's a Bombay, Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi.
Okay.
So the NCR, Bangalore,
okay.
and
Got it.
Yeah.
Listen, your retail of a chocolate bar starts at $250 a pop for 40 grams of chocolate.
$230 a pop.
$230.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. $230 a pop for a bar of chocolate. India is a price sensitive country. You know, like, dude, like you show me something that's 10 rupees versus 250 rupees. We've got like the big players, the MNCs, the FMCGs, loading chocolates and putting it out there for years. Was there ever a hesitation like, dude, what am I actually going up against? David versus Goliath. And did you ever get that thought into your mind?
So,
or were there people even rumbling around your ears?
oh,
about it?
absolutely, all the time. So our chocolate bar is currently, if you weight-wise, gram versus rupee-wise, our chocolates are the most expensive chocolates in India right now. Even
Okay.
if you label it against any Indian chocolate,
Yeah, we're not
internationally.
going to take brand names. You need to sponsor us for that. But today we're just going to celebrate ADC.
So, no, international imported chocolates wise, there are 2 or 3 other chocolates, but otherwise, no. So, of course, it had to raise eyebrows. People had like moving eyeballs as to why is it so expensive. So, first layer of resentment was within the business family, the investors, which are like my extended family, right to friends, and everyone's like, why is it so expensive?
Right.
Who will buy it? Why will someone buy it? The idea is that I'm not selling you food, I'm selling you an experience. I'm giving you something you've never had in your life as a diabetic, as someone who lives around diabetic people, as someone who's giving you that taste and experience. I can assure you that our chocolates, even though they are without sugar, they taste as good as any imported dark chocolate that is available in the market. And I give you a chocolate without an aftertaste. So if you go and buy any other sugar-free chocolate, you'll hit an aftertaste.
Yeah.
Which is why it is expensive. So there was a lot of resentment with customers, family, extended family. However, I think my own gut held me back for a while, but then I went all out.
Okay.
Because if you have a product, you have a market.
But, I mean, how did you come up with the value creation idea? I mean, I want to talk about the value creation because when I'm selling a product to you or you're selling a product to me, I need to see the value in the product. If that product is expensive, leisure, or even if it's not an affordable bar.
Yeah.
It's like a luxury bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
I mean, and guys, believe me, this is an empty packet because I opened it and I'm like, I'm just gonna have like 2. Nah, I ended up running the entire thing. Pratik out there, he shared it with me, but I gave him like quarter of a bar or whatever. But I wrapped the entire thing up within like 2 minutes. It's delicious. So thanks for getting some amazing experience out there in the sector that has been untouched in a different way. But how did you create that value in front of people's eyes, dude? Now I have tasted it, I know it.
Yeah.
But how did you kind of create it to create the value in front of people who didn't understand it?
So we were a category creator.
Correct.
Which is something that I've really been interested around reading about, because first mover advantage in category creation is something that is the highest risk in terms of a small medium scale, because you don't know what you're going against, because there are players that are working in tangential businesses. So for me to get into the business, creating another chain of, or like rather new category, I had to create value for people's lives. And the sentiment and the preference is what I picked on. The sentiment being that I'm a diabetic myself. If I can, you can. In those ways, and in terms of preference, people don't like to have distasteful products.
Sure.
If they are healthy or if they are nutritious and stuff, irrespective, as a chef, I feel that if I'm having something, I might as well like the taste of it.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I wouldn't want to serve you with it.
Sure.
Tomorrow you tell me that there's a sugar-free bar with like 25 grams of protein out of 50, but it tastes like crap, it will taste like crap. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have it.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of a lot of brands right now creating products that are nutritious and healthy, but they don't taste good. It's a chocolate bar.
Correct.
It should taste like a chocolate bar. So that value creation was, I give you a chocolate which tastes like a chocolate better than the sugary ones.
Right.
And you can consume it guilt-free.
Right. And it's not going to affect your health.
It's not going to affect your blood sugar levels.
Yeah. So I'm just going to ask you real quick, right? What goes into making an entrepreneur as per you? Is there a recipe and a method to a madness? Because you started off pretty early, dude. Like, I don't even know you knew how to spell an entrepreneur.
My spelling was always wrong. The ER, no. EU,
See.
UEU. I'm still bad at it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You didn't even know how to spell that word. But do you come from a family that is into business?
Yeah.
So, and hence, did you get that knack
Not at all.
right there? I mean, I'm sure that DNA was programmed in a way that was like, alright, cool, I'm
ये
going to
तो
do
सबसे
something in a way."
खराब ये तो सबसे खराब कॉन्वर्सेशन होती है लोगों की कि तुम्हारे फैमिली में एंटरप्रेन्योर्स और बिजनेसमैन है तो
Check,
तुम्हें
check.
भी करना चाहिए. Like this is so wrong.
Okay.
I know so many people with like 4 generations of business people, and then there's one who gets into service and like a professional 9 to 5 job. They are not programmed to do a 9 to 5, but they're still doing it. Similarly, coming from like a couple of families that I know of, their parents are doctors, engineers, pharmacists and stuff, and then they have like an entrepreneur child. So I feel this whole idea of तुम बनिया घर से आते हो, तुम मरवाड़ी हो तो तुम्हें तो business आता होगा. It's not how it works.
See, here's the thing. Do you get influenced by your peer group? Yes,
Not
you
at
do.
all.
I mean, no, you get influenced by the friends you chill with. You're an average of 5 people that you chill with, as a theory.
I grew up without friends.
Correct.
So for me,
When you grew up with family, right?
that's true. My family came from a place
Did
where
they keep hustling and making money and doing
absolutely.
business?
That's why I'm able
So
to
is
afford
that-
my lifestyle
so
right now.
Is that what wanted you to get into a hustle of business with your passion, with this chocolate?
The idea of a diabetic chef was never to make money
Okay,
initially.
okay.
The idea of what, if you sort of go back to like a little bit, like 4-5 years back, that time the brand that you call it now was a blog where I was distributing recipes for free.
Right.
So the money that would come to me was through donations through Facebook.
Let's face it. Were you unknowingly building a community?
I was knowingly building a community that I never
Knowingly
wanted
building
to
a
sell to.
community. Okay, you didn't want to sell to.
I didn't want to sell to back then, but there was a demand
Then
that
all
was
of a sudden you
created.
just saw that, hey, dude, I just kind of created a community knowingly, but now I can leverage it with my product and actually give them what I really want to actually give out to the world.
It was more need based.
Okay. Okay.
Like the demand was created internally within the community to a level where people would tell me कि हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है बनाने का, आप बना के भेज दो.
Time out. A very important thing, guys. Done for you. Right? DIY, do it yourself. Right? And DFY, done for you. Right? Here's the thing. A lot of people don't. One thing you can't replicate in the world, you can replicate money, dude. I can give you money, I can take another coin back or whatever. It's there. You know, we can exchange money. It's fungible.
Yeah.
Time is non-fungible. You can't replace time. This moment that we're having a conversation in the timeout period that's happening right now is non-fungible. You understand? So what he kind of did was he created what other people kind of wanted.
Absolutely.
And he served it to them and they loved it. They sent it to their people and then they sent it to their people and that community kind of grew. And in about last year you sold 70,000 bars?
Yeah, roughly.
Roughly. That's a brilliant number, dude. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you so much.
Yeah, so yeah, let's go back to it. Is there a recipe to the madness for an entrepreneur? What goes into making an entrepreneur? You're a chef. You know what you need, what ingredients. You know, it's like the Powerpuff Girls putting out a bunch of things. And how do you?
I
make
really
that
wish
mixture?
it was the Powerpuff Girls. I'd be.
How do you create an entrepreneur in a lab? What goes into it?
I'd be fudging Mojo Jojo there. But it's a very difficult answer to have what goes
just
on.
Tell me a couple of things that
Waking up every day to want to do the same thing every day without willingly wanting to take time out of it, for out of like distastefulness or dislike towards your work. Like I can work every single day for the next 5 years without thinking that I want to stop doing this because I'm not liking it. I love what I do.
Sure.
Like I can do this for 18 hours a day, 2 days where I work for 36 hours, and I do not promote toxic work environments. This is just a personal choice.
But
I do it because I love it.
Entrepreneurs are workaholics, man. You can't help it. You know.
Yeah, and you can't be an entrepreneur if you want to chill
Because you
and
love
work
to work
and
and you
chill
love what you're
and
doing.
work.
Guys, I'm working right now and I'm loving it. I'm having a conversation while I'm at it, you know, like, and I'm exchanging so much value
Yeah.
that he's telling me about his stuff and I'm sharing with him, and
Absolutely.
hence we are having this entire conversation. So meet like-minded people. So as per you, 3 things that go into building a good entrepreneur. What are the 3 values or principles or morals that you think?
I think passion and passion.
Passion, passion, and passion. He's that passion guy, man. He's one of those guys, you know, like who goes all in on that passion. He's like, if you're in a casino, I'd say you'll go all in or all out, right? You're one of that type of a guy, aren't you?
But I never go to the casino. I don't
So
gamble.
that's exactly. So he doesn't gamble, but he takes that shot and he does it well. So, I mean, tell me, a diabetic chef. You started that when you were like 16.
Yeah.
But was that your first job? What was like the phase? Like what was happening with other things of your life? What were you experimenting in?
I mean, 16 would be like probably like a 17. My first job as such was that I used to bake brownies and cupcakes and sell near my college.
Space cookies.
Only regular, without sugar, non-added.
Regular.
Non-added, non-spiked. Everything was pretty nice.
Non-spiked. Non-spiked cookies, guys. We only selling good stuff.
And I used to sell it near the college canteen, and then eventually put up stalls at college festivals. And because we had a lot of these stalls of cafes and restaurants around my college come to my college to sort of put something up.
Right.
I was somehow swiping their sales off, their mithai and cakes and stuff, because people felt then that our desserts were tasting much better than theirs. So eventually they came to my stall and asked me to supply to them. So that was my first job. I started selling to cafes and restaurants around my college, and I made enough money to start paying rent and take care of my vices and expenses as a college kid.
Dude, I mean, you remind me of this time in college. My college canteen had a Frankie for 10 rupees. Like, I'm talking 2010, right? A Frankie for 10 rupees. What I did, you know, there was a local cafeteria near my house who never sold Frankies. So I'm like, hey guy, what if I just sell Frankies at yours and we'll price it at 25? He's like, cool. So I used to go tell my college canteen guy to pack 20 Frankies every day for $200, right? And he would give me the the base and everything separate. I used to take that after college, go to that cafe and sell each pop for $25 a pop. So I would automatically make 2x the price right there. So, you know, that was like a hustle that you kind of remind me of getting the college cafeterias out of business, you know. I mean, even I used to kind of hustle around college time. But is that something that you started doing? You started seeing people getting, you know, associated with your baking skills and your cooking skills, and you're like, man, I got to experiment a little more into it. And then did you start working under somebody or anything like that?
Yeah, so I used to just bake and sell so I could have extra money on me. And then I realized that I wanted to really... So my first plan was to work to be a chef since I was like, I don't even remember, 12, 13 years old, when I found out what a chef does, how the roles of a chef are. Since that day to, like, of course, forever, I've wanted to be a chef and sort of grow into the food space. I never had formal education for it, so I thought like learning under chefs or restaurant owners or like cafes.
Yeah.
So apart from baking and selling, I would work under chefs at different spaces around my college. So I did take up some form of training and some form of work with people who are professionally qualified to sort of do so, to get hands-on training in the kitchen on how it really works.
So how was the business growth till like 2019, year on year, percentage wise, you know, till 2019? I'm not even asking you about 2020 and onwards.
If we talk like 3.5 years back, I was 21-ish, and that time, again...
How were you scaling year on year on a percentage wise?
There was no scaling year on year, I'll be honest with you, because 6.5, 7 months into starting that small space in Andheri, I had to shut it completely. So 2018 is when I took up like another job to repay some debt that I had accumulated in 2000 earlier because of the kitchen, restaurant, whatever you call it. And I took up jobs, and then I worked for people, and I realized that a 9 to 5, 9 to 8, even like a 7 to 10 wasn't fitting well for me. Because I felt like if I can grow someone's business 7x in 6 months, Like,
can definitely
I
grow
can do something for
some-
myself.
yeah,
So I started an advertising agency in Bylon work. I got offered equity at a design startup, design agency, which I took up, and I joined a CMO.
Right.
And I gathered enough skill to sort of realize that I have enough understanding of branding, marketing, sales. And then I took the leap of faith last year.
Wow, okay.
And
Was it during the pandemic you took the leap of faith?
Oh yes, I lost all my clients in April last year because of the
Wow.
pandemic, and up until like say May end, I was looking for a job to repay, like just to sustain myself
Correct.
and to
Sure.
start contributing. I landed a job that would pay me almost like 20 lakh rupees, okay, and then I should have just. I had this thing where it's very funny, guys. So I got the job offer on the 19th of May, and 20th of May I got my FSSAI license for a diabetic chef after a year of application. And I was like, fudge this, I do not know what to do. So one day I was just retrospecting over everything that I've done, and I was just thinking
Are you
what
going
to
to take
do.
that 20 lakh rupees or start your venture the way you wanted to? Was the
So
question.
on the 21st May, in a very
You
weird...
received the license on the 21st May and your job was on on the 20th. So you had money in the bank versus going with the venture.
I was gonna go back to zero. Like April and May were two difficult months because I'd applied to 82 jobs. 61 of them actually replied saying you're overqualified in terms of hiring. And I said, but I really need the money. Like I really want the job.
Yeah.
So, and the rest that I went for required an age for that designation. And the job that I landed, the previous person who vacated that position was 31 when I was 24, 23.
Correct.
So that age to fill up and to fill up that experience was a little difficult for me.
Right.
So I did the stupidest thing or the funniest thing. I went to LinkedIn and I updated on 21st May that, hey, restarting a diabetic chef, la la la. And the HR of that company saw it, sent me a congratulations message and said, we are vacating this particular position that we had earlier offered to you. Hope to see you, la la la.
Wow. So anyway,
May,
she
June,
helped you
July,
make that decision
August,
for
September,
yourself.
October, 6 months.
She helped you make that decision for yourself anyway. And I mean, what happens, happens for the best. Anyway, you want... See, your heart was anyway at ADC, right? You wanted to do it.
I was going to earn money and put it back to start this at some point, and I realized that I'm going to keep working for the rest of my life, keep collecting money, blowing it up, and try to start.
In 2020 to 21, did you see people just sitting at home and consuming your chocolates day after day because it had no sugar and all of that? Did you see a spike in sales but not in blood sugar?
Initially, it was very hectic for me to sell even like a total of 1,500 bars over a month, which is like, and
Yeah.
trust me when I say it, I mean it. The kind of collaborations that we've been able to pull off in the last 1 year, I think a lot of companies, from what I've understood, take 3 and 4 years. Like we've collaborated with the names of the biggest aggregators.
Correct.
In the last 1 year. Like we're in an October to October cycle. We started selling in October last year to now. And I think we've done great. So the benchmark for us to do better is the day we started, and it's a quarterly thing for me right now because I have nothing to sort of look at and compare to. So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, how have we performed? What is the growth? It is not gonna like fill up my bank balance one day and I'm like, "Arey, break even ho gaya." That's not gonna happen.
Sure.
And you know how this works.
Yeah.
But I'm super stoked to see what's next
Sure.
in the near future.
Let's see it. You're in a country, India, which has sweets, and it has sweets galore. You know, we're not talking about the Western sweets. We're talking about the Indian
sweets,
mithais.
yeah.
It's one country that has sweets from rich flavors, heritage. They're known, considered delicacies around the world, and they're known for being sweets. I'm a Bengali guy, so I know my sweets, right? So, did it ever come across to you, like if watching, did you ever kind of have like this entire thing that, or did anyone come to you and say, you know, people can buy 1 kilo of laddus for $250? Or like आधा किलो लड्डू आ जाएंगे इतने में. Why would people buy one of those type of things? Did it kind of cross you that you're going to have like a very cross culture type of a thing with people?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It still happens, yeah. Like I have comments on my Instagram and my Facebook.
कैसा चलेगा ये इतना महंगा कैसा है? Do you get all of that type of stuff?
You should buy Beep brand because उनके यहाँ पर 10 रुपए का मिलता है इतना ग्राम versus इसका sugar free chocolate मिलता है 100 रुपए में आप 250 में बेचते हो. And there's a whole essay that they'll write. And I said, why are you investing your time? I'm not going to be changing my pricing for you. Like, क्यों कर रहे हो uncle? And the second part is, again, this whole narrative of apples versus oranges in India.
Correct.
Why are you comparing two things that are not directly related? I can't compare a motichur laddu to a rabdi or to a sandesh.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Similarly, that is in one category
Sandesh
of mithai.
and laddus. Yo, shout out to all the Bengali people. If you guys are there, drop a comment. Bengali
Or
boy
go
watching
buy
you.
a stevia to make your own.
So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. How are you trying to fight this entire culture clash of mithais, dude? Because you call yourself. I mean, I've seen the workshops where you're trying to,
Yeah.
tell people how to make mithais and all
Yeah.
of that type of stuff. How does this kind of cross culture clash come out like that?
The thing is that it's a question or a conversation of preference.
Okay.
What you like, I might not like. For example,
Is it all also about marketing the brand properly in a way?
it's about positioning it.
Right.
Like all our products are segregated into categories. Like we have a category of non-nutritive foods like a stevia powder.
Sure.
It's a sweetener. So I can't sell a stevia with a chocolate categorized in the same way because the utility is very different. But the same stevia can make any mithai or a chocolate at your house.
Right.
But the chocolate can't do the same.
Absolutely.
So they are very different aspects of the business, of the positioning. Like a stevia can be purchased by someone who's off sugar and on keto and who's diabetic and for someone who's making and selling stuff.
Right.
Chocolate is direct consumption, similar market,
Correct.
but the pricing is very different. A jar of stevia lasts you a month, whereas
Right.
a chocolate lasts you 2 minutes if you're a Raja, and like a day or two if you're me, and a week if you're really
Like
self-controlled.
how do you like? No, I mean.
I eat it every day, so
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you get that as well.
Yeah.
Don't. That's what they say.
portion controlling.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't work with me, dude. Like, I do my cheat days and cheat meals, and boy, like this thing he just got me tasting is gonna be swept off in like minutes. And this is like the 8th year anniversary edition pack, guys. So I'm one of the lucky guys to get it. So go check out his website, diabeticchef.com, and go get yours, dude. Get yours. And while you're at it, why don't you go to the rajamethod.com and get the book. What are we doing out here? We're telling you how to actually contribute to your own growth with value, with closing, and sales is everything. Marketing is everything. See, marketing will get you the lead, but sales is going to convert that money into the bank. Ka-ching! Two entrepreneurs here trying to give you the right method to the madness. At the end of the day, here's a man who went into debt, was finding jobs right last year, and then he ended up selling 70,000 bars of chocolate within a year. Beautiful, right? That's what story of entrepreneurs are all made about, dude. I mean, get his chocolates, get my ebook, and go, let's connect with it. And at the end of the day, let me ask you something. Anything unique that your product offers in terms of sales or marketing that people should make a note of and understand?
In the next 6 months or so, you can get all our products within 2 hours of ordering, and we'll be facilitating that supply to you with partnerships, because at the moment we're still minimizing the delivery timelines to say 2 to 3 days as we promise, but in the near future we'll be probably getting it to you within 2 hours, which is something that we're working on.
Sarj, tell me, is there anything unique about the sales or the marketing area that people should make a note of about your brand?
I think it's very honest.
Okay.
Like, the brand in totality of whatever we're selling to you. It's very honest.
And it's
all
transparent out there.
It's transparent.
You don't want to put anything
Yeah.
behind the curtains in a way, right?
Behind the curtains are micro font. So if you notice a lot of brands, they micro font their
Correct.
ingredients and stuff, and people like me can't read, so I'll have to hold it like that. and read. But even if you give our bars to my grandmother, my late grandmother, she'd be able to read it without like having to pressure her.
You guys, we just cut the camera for a minute or two. I opened this thing and it's empty, man. I'm like, not gonna mess with you guys. I mean, I wanted to eat a bar, like a couple of, blocks on the cam, but sorry guys, I just had to wrap it up. Dude, that was delicious again. I mean, I can actually do like a couple of bars in one sitting, like.
Statutory health warning, don't have more than half a bar if you're diabetic. And if you're Raja, 1 bar is okay, not more than
Dude, I ate 2.
Yes.
And I gave him half. I give you half.
So
please.
technically you've had 1 bar and that's why you stop, because indulgences, it's a chocolate bar, it's not a nutritive.
Yeah, but it's my cheat day, guys. Come on, man. I'm going to burn it off in the gym. What you know about me? Huh? So anyway, you were telling me about that 2 hours delivery thing, man. Tell me something about that.
The thing is that when you order a chocolate or when you order a product online for consumption, the weight of the delivery, like by the time it sort of reaches you,
Right.
it is slightly a buzzkill, and I accept it.
Okay.
The thing about our brand and about the entire process of selling for us, the entire idea of building a diabetic chef is honesty. So I accept it that, when someone's ordering a chocolate or like a gummy bear or like a stevia or an indulgence, basically, you want to have it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm trying to sort of create like a system with partnerships where I hand over our chocolates to our delivery partners. Like, for example, I have a partnership with an Amazon Fresh right now.
Sure. Okay.
Which ensures delivery within an X amount of time, or with, say, a big
So you're trying to get to the consumers as soon as they actually
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
grabbing a
yeah.
bar and
Yeah.
wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Like, let's give
I
it to
don't
them.
mind
Yeah.
losing that percentage of discount that I have to pass to the aggregators, but the experience of the customer is what matters to me.
Time out. Experience of the customer. Get that. You know why? Because you give them the value. You need to show them that you're invested with them in their consumption of your product. So even they can kind of feel like you're just not here to money grab and run away, right? You're giving them something out of the way,
Yeah.
right? You need to do that for your people. I mean, you serve delights. You give people sweets that they crave. You're like an entrepreneur who is a new age entrepreneur. How do you leverage technology for yourself? What are you doing to build your brand online? You used to write food blogs and all of that type of stuff, but what are you doing now to kind of leverage technology and grow your brand apart from Amazon Fresh and this? Is there anything else you're doing for the community of people that want to be more connected to a diabetic chef?
So on a weekly basis or once in 2 weeks, I sort of write a blog on our website.
You
and I
still do?
post it. Yeah.
Wow,
It's
okay.
been there for the longest time that I remember. I think now we have 20, 25 blogs
Nice.
that talk about different aspects of food, like why apple cider vinegar is good for you, or health tips on why should you quit certain foods, or why is sugar bad for you. Then I've created and devised this whole program of how to quit sugar over 28 days. Why should you quit sugar, and how do you see the effects on your body in 7 days? La. So there's a lot of these things that I do in terms of engagement with my community and giving it back to them. With respect to the whole digital and technology based conversation, I feel that being able to connect with our audiences through digital platforms, through social media applications like a Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or LinkedIn, really helps me reach a wider audience.
You got to leverage social media, guys. Listen, there was the agriculture age, then came the industrial revolution. Now we are in the information age. Believe it. If you don't believe it, believe me, you're going to be left behind and you'll be trying to catch up in the race because you're not in the race then. So I'm guessing the way you approach challenges in life is you take on the challenge and actually try to conquer it. You actually are an alpha as well in yourself, which I don't know, a lot of people think you're that nice, sweet guy who makes chocolates, right? But you're out there with the talwar, like, yeah, let's go conquer this thing. Someone calls you a diabetic chef, you're like, hey, okay, cool, I'll name my brand the diabetic chef. Hell with you, and you want to laugh on his face. And then you want to eat chocolates, so you go and create chocolates yourself. So you like to conquer, don't you, in a way?
Yeah, I mean,
Did you notice this about yourself, though? You are an alpha in a
I
way.
am someone who doesn't really care too much about what people.
You do care. Because if someone calls you a diabetic chef, you're like, cool, I'm a diabetic chef, I accept it.
But
let
it
me
saves me
let
time
me
on
go.
branding, yeah. Like I don't have to invest money and give it to an agency.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, हाँ ठीक है, sounds quite an insult, which is very
थैंक यू
helpful.
फॉर योर इंसल्ट मैं ब्रांड का नाम डाल देगा और 1 साल बाद या 10 साल बाद तेरे को 100 करोड़ लेके मिलता हूँ बाद में चलो बाय
Yeah, like revisiting those days, I think. And the thing is that I never changed the name, you know, like with a lot of people giving me a lot of shit about it. I always thought that there should be like a French name, like a La Diabetic Chafe or some shit like that.
ले डीबीटीआक्षी ऐसा
I
ऐसा
don't,
कोई सा-
मेरे को इतनी French नहीं आती, but
जीप टेढ़ा हो जाएगा भाई No,
so
I'm supposed to talk
that
in English right now.
and what I realized was that the simpler the better. Like the lot of brands that I still can't spell out very well. Like I know it's not Hermes and it's Hermes or Hermes, but if I have something like that for a food brand in India, people won't buy it.
Correct. So let me ask you something, right? A lot of people, I mean, we've spoken about a lot of ways you conquered challenges in life, right? And all of that type of stuff. We are trying to wrap this up real quick.
Yeah.
So 3 things that were failures, or I would say learning lessons that made you go back like, I can do this better. Give me 3 top things that come to your mind.
Never mix friends and business.
Very important.
Sorry. I remember.
Okay.
You shouldn't care about criticism that comes in from people around you.
If they are not constructed well,
Nahi.
if it's an opinion,
If it's your dream, if
Yeah.
you are passionate, if you have a drive, just do it.
Correct.
You shouldn't care about what people have to say about it. Why? Because nobody sees the value through your eyes. You see your vision, you see your value. Nobody else can.
Very well put,
Unless
man.
you've executed it, unless the money has come in, then सब पूछ हिलाते लाते आ जाएंगे.
Number
So that
3.
is number 2, and number 3. Money is very tangential to success. Like success does not mean money, money does not mean success. It is tangential.
Yeah.
It will come anyway. And success is a very bad shape of the society. What success means to me today is that out of, for example, 70,000 people who've eaten my chocolate, the next person who eats it likes it, and I'm so happy. I'm like, "Arey, this day is great, good review has come in." For another person would be, "Arey, तूने 10 करोड़ कमाया, अगले साल में 10 करोड़ 50 लाख कमाएगा," then you are successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that definition of success is too subjective.
Right.
तो अगर घर वाले भी बोलते हैं कि बेटा you have failed in life because you couldn't make XYZ money, buy yourself a house, buy yourself a car, I haven't either. I don't have any of that. I have 0 savings right now. I'm not saying you should not save money. I'm just saying that the people who look up to you.
Don't save money, invest money, guys. Why are you saving money? Yeah, that's what I always tell you. You know,
So-
save, invest, yes, but also invest in your dream. That's what
Yeah.
he's been doing.
You define your success. Don't let someone else do it.
But at the end of the day, you got to look at it in a way that you built a brand right now. You've saved money and you've invested money and you've grown this entire baby into something that is worth a certain value as of now, right? In a way.
I think I was successful. I mean, I can never be epitome of success for myself in my own eyes, because the day I do that, it halts my growth.
Correct.
But the day I was successful is when I could strike off my entire checklist, bucket list.
Sure.
I wanted till the age of 25.
See, here's the thing. I mean, if you know everything, you know nothing. Believe me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, friends, don't mix them with business or in chocolates. Yeah. The second one was People are going to talk. Let them talk. You know, do your thing.
Yeah,
If you believe in it, do your thing. And the third was?
Don't let someone else define your success.
That's right. Because success is a different story for different people, guys. All right. Before we wind this up, one timeout tip for everybody. What do you think they should do out there to time out and unwind? Apart from eating your chocolates. And watching our podcast. And buying my ebook.
Don't burn out. There are times like this year I worked for 300 days straight, and
But you've
when
not
I
burnt
burned
out, right?
I burned
You
out.
did, okay.
I did burn out, and I was on my bed for 6 days.
Wow.
What I realized was I should have taken 2 days off and still be productive, than be burnout and then live in the hangover of the burnout and then get out of it. So just take adequate breaks for yourself.
Prioritize yourself and know yourself in a way and space out.
Give
the way
yourself
you kinda
enough
need.
time. What has to happen will happen, and the things that can go bad will go the worst in every possible situation. So damage control is one thing, and trying too hard is one thing. So just like let things be and give time to yourself and just chill.
All right, man. That was that. Everybody, this is what we do out here at Time Out with Raja. You know, we come week after week with somebody that's hustled hard, never quit, gone behind their dreams, achieved it. We come here, why? We come here to give you that value that you deserve. This is Time Out with Raja. We were here with this amazing dude right here called Harsh Kedia, Chef Harsh Kedia. You know, a diabetic chef. Go buy those chocolates, go get that book, because you deserve value in your life. I want to serve you value in your life. He wants to serve you delicious chocolates in your life. We are nice people, so do what, you got to appreciate this and share it with your friends. We're not done yet. Right here, Harsh, my man, he said right after we wrap, before we cut, he's going to stand up and sing a song for everybody. So we're just going to go into that, right? So
Raja.
no, that's it. It's a wrap, everybody.
It's
Time out
the
with Raja.
caffeine. It's the caffeine thing that's hitting Raja.
No, I mean it's
overdosing on
it's
caffeine.
no sugar rush. It's anti-sugar rush and caffeine. Yo, it's a diabetic chef, everybody. Go out and check it out. Raja signing off. I'll see you next week. Cheers. Boom.